Hi, this is John Mulligan from Search Engine Strategies, New York, 2009. I'm here with Ron-Diorio from the-economist magazine. Now, Ron, you were just on the C-level executive suite, and you were focusing on social media specifically on the panel with Facebook. One of the things that you put forward, the major theme of your presentation was sort of a measured, hands-off approach to social media, and that's something that a lot of people miss, right? They're either very hot or very cold on it. Maybe you could talk a bit about sort of the general philosophy behind that. You said a CEO had to come down and like lay down the law on that, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things that I think that we brought to the table with social media was a long history of getting feedback from our readers through letters, good or bad. So when social media came to the surface and we started to find that there were communities of dedicated, interested economist readers out there, we sort of had a confidence level in them, right? So we didn't doubt that they were actually engaging with the magazine. They were probably subscribers, and so perhaps we had a little bit more faith. But the thing that we tried to do was to not jump in there and hit them with marketing messages, but to allow them to know that we were there. Certainly with the Facebook group, the first instance was to let them know we were there. Was there anything that they needed from us or that they would like from us? And they were quite excited by us just interacting with them. I think there are other conditions, like with the group of people who are translating The Economist into Chinese, where we needed to engage slightly more directly because there was questions about intellectual property and what they were doing. But again, another very engaged group of people who were, being evangelists for us. There were a number of people who would never read The Economist in English that might become aware of it or become acquainted with it through this activity that they were doing on their own time. So I think that in every case, it's always good to kind of look back. You know, if people are talking poorly about your brand, obviously, it's great to respond directly and honestly. Right. Sometimes the feedback is really helpful. However, I think in all cases, it's, Web 2.0 is here to stay. And the reckoning is that CEOs, marketing people have to recognize when to move forward with a message that's helpful to the organization rather than just a message.
Absolutely. And another, well, that gets to the major point in terms of how you treated your audience. I mean, you're obviously in the enviable position where there are people in China who desperately want to translate your stuff. Mm-hmm. A lot of people would kill for that, right?
Right.
But at the same time, you didn't go out there and try to control what they were saying. You instead saw what they were doing and attempted to see how that fit into what you were already doing, mm-hmm. correct? And how that could how that could intensify your own work.
Right. Well, I mean, we have a mature business, and there are multiple revenue streams, and there's a funnel of people that need to become acquainted with the product to establish a relationship and then become a subscriber. There are needs for having people come to the website so that we can present them not only online content but messaging from advertisers. So I think we take a broad look at this audience and want to make sure that we're putting the right message in the right place at the right time. Again, sometimes we don't get it right, but I think more often than not we're trying to be considered in our approach to this audience because they are active, and also to recognize that every week we're putting out another edition of the magazine, and there's always another chance to engage them with the ideas that we put forward.
Absolutely. I want to get to one last point, and that's something that you hinted at. Hopefully there's more. Hopefully there's more meat there, because I was entirely intrigued by it. You talked about measuring in social media, which is always a big problem once you launch a social media campaign, is to convince people that it's worthwhile, because they're new metrics that the old hats don't know how to digest very easily, right? And it fit into very well the way that you had been talking already about the conversations you were promoting online, focusing more on quality over quantity. You were going into not the most active areas, but the areas that were the most intellectually rich, and that's what your brand's all about, right?
Right.
And following on that, you said you were publishing reports that were sort of like giving samples of the best comments, as opposed to as opposed to metrics on the thousands of comments and like user demographics, right?
Right, right. Well, the product that I think most fits this is our debate product, which is structured on an Oxford-style debate, which has a series of rules about how people need to behave. So one of the things that we tried to encourage there was a type of conversation that was serious and that people knew how to behave themselves. And what we found in doing this, that people were contributing 1,500, 2,000-word essays to this conversation. And what we tried to explore with our partner clients or advertisers is here's a great way to not only engage thought leadership with The Economist by being a sponsor for these particular areas, but also tapping into a very knowledgeable, smart group of people whose comments could help the advertisers and also help the community understand these very complex subjects, whether it be global poverty reduction or energy or environmental issues. I mean, those are issues that there are many sides to it, and being able to tap into just more than a formal corporate message and letting these users surface some of the best arguments is, I think, important for all organizations. But if you're sponsoring something, you want to take away the best, and we try to make that available to them so they can see the messaging that they supported was something more than just a push message. It was actually a conversation that was at a high level.
And that's a great way. That's a great way to empower users, which is extremely important when people are as self-assertive as most of the economists that I've known, or people who think they're economists too. Have you just one last thing? Have you had any star cameos in your online discussions? Has Krugman slummed it with you guys yet in a Facebook discussion?
I don't know that. I mean, so they can still use their own pen names. I'm sure that there are a number of people who are posting under pen names. I think what's interesting is, as we talked about with Facebook, is being who you are and allowing that to be part of the reputation management. So ideally, over time, The Economist will bring in people to be guest contributors or participants in it, and hopefully they'll use their real name to show their ideas. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are a few people doing it already on their pseudonyms.
Sure. Well, thanks a lot, Ron.
Thank you.
Again, it's day one, SES New York 2009. Stay tuned for more.